Good afternoon. Happy Sunday to you, ladies. I hope that you guys are having a fantastic long weekend. Um, Remembering to pray for those who have made it possible for us. I just wanted to come on and spend a little bit of time, just a few minutes, answering some of the questions and some of the responses that I got from you earlier this week when we talked about a pattern that's kept you from feeling successful in past attempts. So sometimes it's easier to just come on here and do it this way rather than trying to type it out. So I'll do this occasionally just to answer as many questions as possible. So I have for you answers, and then at the end, important reminders. So I hope that you'll stay tuned. So I'm just going to jump right in. The question that I asked was, what's a pattern that's kept you from being successful in past attempts at food and body freedom? Let's talk about ways to break that pattern. So here are the responses that I got. I'm just going to kind of address them one by one. I get back into mindless eating from boredom, procrastination, anxiety, etc. So this is going to answer a lot of these because this was a similar one. So what I've discovered in my years of battling this myself is that when we boil it down, we have to get to the core emotions and the core, what I call the thing. You know, we talk in my family about making the thing the thing. I've written about that before. So you've got to get to the actual thing, the actual emotion, the actual trigger that's causing the behavior. Otherwise, really, it's just behavior modification and not kind of true healing and breakthrough. So what I've discovered is that boredom is really avoidance. So I think you said boredom and procrastination. I think you hit the nail on the head there. So I tend to think you've got to ask yourself, okay, why am I so bored? You know, why am I bored? Are you avoiding something that you don't want to do? And so you're defaulting to fill your time with food. Again, that's a principle that I'll talk about in this and that I teach is do the hard things first. So if we do the hard things first and the things that we don't necessarily want to do, we're so much less inclined to try and fill that space through the activity of procrastination. So, you know, for instance, if laundry is your thing and you hate it and you're procrastinating, so you're mulling your way through the kitchen just trying to buy that time, the laundry's not going away, right? I mean, it's just not. If anyone finds a way to make it go away, please let me know because mine's not. So you do the hard things first. You start your day with the hard things first. And there's power there. For one thing, there's power in just knowing that you have control over your choices. That, yeah, I don't really love this, and this isn't my favorite way to spend my time, but I have enough self-control that I can will myself to go do this, you know. There's freedom and there's liberation there. So, for one thing, are you procrastinating because it's just something that you don't love doing? Do the hard thing first. Then, are you bored because you're just not filling your time well? You know, are you missing purposes that God has designed for your life to fill your time? Are there people that you could pour into? Is there a prayer ministry that you could do to fill that time? Are you having impact? And if you have enough bored time, it's probably a time to have an honest conversation with yourself and with the Lord to say, hey, why do I have so much idle time that I'm so bored? And Lord, how do you desire that I fill that? How can I be more impactful with my time so that I don't feel so bored? So I think in terms of getting to the core of the two behaviors, you do have to kind of ask yourself those questions. What am I avoiding? And why am I so bored? Am I missing opportunities? Because if you don't address those core issues, you're not really getting to the problem itself. You're just kind of continuing to cover it up. And so, you know, if you are spending your time better, if you're doing those hard things first, and you can go do things that you enjoy, you're so much less likely to be filling those times with mindless eating. So it's just that plain and simple. Boredom, exhaustion, you know, that comes back to the boredom issue for me personally, at least. I think you have to ask yourself, am I bored? Am I procrastinating because I'm exhausted? And I believe that a lot of times we will participate in boredom types of activities when what we truly need is rest. And there's a big difference between just sleeping and also resting. We need rest. Our souls need rest. Our bodies need rest. And in this society where we're so bombarded just constantly with stimulus, most of us don't get true rest often enough. So I'm not talking about sitting. There's a place for entertainment. I mean, there is. Of course, we all do it. I like to look at Pinterest and pin fun things for the kids, and there's a place for that. But most of the time, I think most of us, when we look at rest, we tend to plop down someplace, have our phone, scroll through social media, look at a million different things, rather than really enjoying true rest, which is just being quiet, listening to music that restores your soul, closing your eyes, quieting your mind and soul. And I do believe that lack of true rest just really breeds that exhaustion cycle and the boredom cycle and the mindless eating cycle. So really ask yourself, do you need to incorporate the exercise and the discipline of rest into your bodies? And I'll post about that in further weeks. Okay, one of the other things, and Rachel, you posted quite a few things about this, so I'm going to go back to you because I want to address all of yours. Stress. Okay, so here's another example. And interesting, Anna, you mentioned this a couple of bullets down. And so I think let's just address both of those, because so often we call it stress. But if we're truly honest and if we truly get to the thing, stress is fear. It's always fear. And so let's get to what we call primary emotions. There's primary emotions, there's secondary emotions. Stress is a secondary emotion. It's a symptom of a primary emotion, which is fear. Fear, lack of control is fear. So you have to ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What don't I trust? What need do I not believe God will meet? What am I afraid of losing? What am I afraid of being out of control on? What am I afraid of failure about? You've got to ask yourself, when you're feeling overly stressed, you've got to go through the exercise of asking yourself, what do I feel afraid of? What do I feel fearful of right now in this moment? And again, until you are able to distill it down into the very core of what you're struggling with, you will tend to always try to cover that up. Now, I'm not calling out anything that I don't struggle with myself. Fear is an ongoing struggle for me, always has been. Stress is something that I have to battle all the time, but I know that I battle stress because I battle fear. So, one and the same. I vie for control because I'm constantly having to shut out spirits of fear. So, you can have victory. You have to fight for it. So, I have a long kind of generational curse of fear. And so to break those shackles is not easy, but it is possible. And I've come a very, very long way. I continue to battle, but you can be free. So if you are stress eating, ask yourself, what do I feel afraid of? And then you take that to Jesus, because he's the only one who can really provide you that relief that you're looking for. And so then that was Anna's kind of post was about fear. And so that's really a sanctification and a purification process that can come in Christ alone. He is the only one who can help shed light on our fears, which are simply lies from the enemy. And the only way to truly have victory over the enemy is in the Spirit and by the Spirit. And so, that is a process that you have to go through to be able to overcome that long term. Lack of organization, and I'm not going to spend tons of time on that because that's the whole gist, the whole sum of this program is to help you learn to be more organized, help you learn how to prioritize your time and your meal planning and your exercise, and to really assemble that toolbox for success. So you are in the right place, Kathy, for that, because that is what this is all about. Let's see here. I just want to make sure that I'm addressing all of them. Okay, the meal planning is daunting. So that is that's of course a really common struggle. And all I can say to that is it gets better with time, just like all things. When you practice, you get so much better. And the other part is that I see people try to do it too much too soon. So set yourself up for success by doing small things. So, and do it how it works for you. So some people like, if you like technology, use the Dashing Dish app. I'm old fashioned. I still like pen to paper, so I like to write things down. And you don't have to do anything complicated. Like, it can be on a scratch piece of paper. It can be, I like to use these. It's just a little daily planner. Has the days of the week, and you can just fill it in. And you just really simply put in a meal, you look it up, you either write down the ingredients for your grocery list, or you put it in your grocery delivery, or whatever you're going to do. And just having a plan for what's for dinner that night that's the key, just because, at the end of the day, and after practices and kids are home and homework is still ahead and you're tired, coming up with it right then, it's not going to happen. It's going to be call Domino's, or, here's a bowl of cereal for everybody. That's just how it's going to be. So you've got to have that plan ahead of time, and it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be fancy. For me, as the kids have gotten older and we've gotten busier, and we have some sort of a sports practice most nights, I have come to really appreciate prepared food deliveries. So I like HelloFresh. The ingredients are super clean. It's very simple ingredients. The kinds of things I would buy myself. It's chicken, it's beef, it's fish, shrimp, vegetables. Very clean, simple ingredients. And I've just started to incorporate that into our week, 2 or 3 times a week, just simply for the point of making things easier. So, I'll make a meal plan for one night, Dashing Dish, a salad, something kind of simple, and then a fresh meal, and I just alternate. And then usually on the weekend, there's enough left over from the week that we'll just kind of clean up some leftovers, and it's really simple. Then it can also just be as simple as throwing, a bunch of chicken breasts into the crock pot and shredding them, and you've got shredded chicken. I'll just throw those in a million different things, sometimes just throw it on a wrap, sometimes into a salad. Last night we had some leftover curry, so I just threw chicken into leftover curry sauce, and it just helps you have ready-made food. And then same with vegetables. Chop some vegetables so that, you're more inclined to grab, a few strips of red peppers and cucumbers than you are, the bag of chips. It can just be really simple. So set yourself up for success by starting small and being consistent. That's what keeps it from feeling daunting. And then you start to get a rhythm, and you can start to add as needed and as necessary and as comfortable. But let me tell you something. Life is so changing. It is so changing. And I have learned it so much this past year that as soon as you find a rhythm, life changes again, and you have to pivot and you have to adjust. So be flexible, give yourself grace, trust God in those times, trust yourself to be able to pivot well, and just embrace the flexibility of it if you can a little bit. Don't let that discourage you, and be the reason why you just kind of throw your hands up and say, forget it, I'm done, it's not working. It just needs to just needs to morph just a little bit to work. So allow that change to happen when it needs to. Okay, Rachel, I'm going to go to your post because you had several things, and without a doubt, at least one, maybe a few people probably have those exact same questions. So bear with me, guys, 1 second here, and I will find that post. In the meantime, okay, never mind, no meantime, here you are. All right, you struggled with your appearance. Yep. Okay. Okay, here are your specific questions. Sugar addiction. Okay. This is a tough one because, there are some people that really truly believe that sugar is an addictive property and that we can truly have an addiction. Others disagree with that theory. I tend to land somewhere in the middle, but I think I tend to lean towards the not addicted part. So I think that we call things addictive and addicted sometimes inappropriately. So I believe that our bodies were created to be able to tolerate some sugar. The Lord created sweet on purpose. He created honey. He created sweet flavors. We are made to be able to taste and enjoy sweet things. So I believe that as a result of that, He enabled our bodies to be able to tolerate some sugar. Sugar cane is very natural and has been around forever. So I think that this idea of sugar addiction is kind of a new sort of new age modern type of thing, and I'm just not sure that that we're not giving it so much power that it's become something that it shouldn't be. So sometimes, the most effective way to overcome something is simply to pull the power plug on it. You diffuse the power and suddenly the control lifts. And I think this might be one of those things. We've kind of demonized sugar so much that I think we've made it a thing that it doesn't have to be. So obviously, sugar has been bleached, it's been changed, it's been added to way too many things in way too many amounts. So I'm not advocating sugar consumption in and of itself. What I'm advocating is take a breath and ask yourself, okay, again, why am I needing this so much? A lot of times I think people are needing sugar because they're not adequately nourishing themselves ahead of time. So if sugar is a constant battle for you and you're just always wanting something sweet, you would need to take a look at what you're eating through the day. Are you getting enough protein? Are you getting enough carb? Are you getting good sustaining carbohydrates throughout the day? Because I think a lot of times the body's reaction to not having enough carb, which is necessary and important as a building block for your overall health and fitness, our poor bodies are like, I'm going to try and save you. You need this, and so then they're like, it's like vying for anything that it can get to try and give us that source of carbohydrate. And so I think you just really look at your nutrition. Are you getting enough of what you need throughout the day? Sorry, I feel that coming. Also, look back to that source of stress. What are you trying to make feel better through sweets? My number one success tip for sweet tooth, it's something I've been doing for probably 10 years. It continues to be my very best strategy because I'm totally going to cough, you guys. I'm sorry. I knew I should have brought water. I always do this when I talk. I know about myself. So one of the things that you guys will figure out through this process is yourself. You'll figure out what you need. You'll learn about yourself. And after a 13, 14 year process have figured out things about myself. And one of the things that I know is I need the real chocolate. Like I have to have a place in my life for that, or I feel restricted and sad and on a diet, and I don't want to do that. So there's a place for dark chocolate in my life every day. And so my number one strategy for avoiding sugar, because really then I could care less really about ice cream, definitely cake, cupcakes, any of that stuff. Forget about it, because this takes care of it so much more that I end up feeling so much better, because those other options end up making you feel like poop. But this satisfies the sweet tooth and you don't feel like poop. So I buy really good dark chocolate. So like 80% probably. 75, if 80 scares you, 75% can work. Really good dark chocolate. And it's already perforated into squares, so just break off one square and I keep it in the freezer. Here I go again. Oh my gosh, you guys, talk about real life. I keep it in the freezer. If this continues, I'll go grab a glass of water and come back. Keep the chocolate in the freezer. This is the key. You've got to keep it frozen. And then you break off a piece and you suck on the frozen piece. You've got to have the self-control too, not to bite it. You can't chew it. You've got to suck on it. So if you suck on one square of really good dark chocolate, by the end, it has reached all of those taste buds, and it has had time to reach your brain because it's frozen and cold and takes a while, and it's rich. And so by the end, you are almost guaranteed to not want more. If you want more, I'd be surprised. But, worst case, you have 2 squares, and it's not that big of a deal. The other really nice thing about the dark, very dark chocolate is it's negligible amounts of sugar. So, even if you do end up having a couple of squares, your sugar hit is so much lower than if you, choose a handful of cookies or cake or cupcakes or a huge bowl of ice cream. So, the Dash and Dish sweets are so good and they meet such a need, and I enjoy those so much. But I know that in order to stop the sweet train, so, for me, a lot of times if I have something like that, I still am going because I know what I really need to stop that in its tracks is chocolate, real chocolate. And so through the years, I've learned that I was wasting so many calories trying to fend it off, when if I had just really had the chocolate, I was good. So for me, it's the number one way to end a meal every time. So I have a square at lunch and I have a square at dinner every day. And so that's a 100 calorie hit, about, give or take, about 100 calories a day. And it's really the only sugar I ever want. So give it a try. See how that goes for you. And then if that doesn't work for you, come back and we'll talk more. Okay, it's this consistency. Yeah, okay. So this is the other thing that people struggle with so much here, and we'll talk a lot more about this as we go, is, I do so good for a while, and then I go out to one meal and I'm like, oh, well, I blew it, so forget about it. And then I eat the whole house down, or I blow it the rest of the week. Okay, so first of all, no more saying I've been so good. Semantics are huge. You've got to start to not just watch the way you think, but the way you speak. So no more saying I've been good. That's diet talk right there. So food has nutritional value. Some of it is higher, some of it is lower. It doesn't make it good, doesn't make it bad. Those are value attributes that food should not have. You are not good for eating vegetables. You are not bad for eating cake. That's a lie that has been twisted up and caused so many women so much trouble. So, what you're doing is simply choosing. So, if you've eaten mostly nutritious foods the way that you've chosen to meet your goal, so I like to call them goal choices, not good choices, goal choices. Are they choices that align with your goals? And you've done that most of the week, celebrate that. That's great. But then when real life comes along and you've got a dinner out with your boyfriend, or you've got a dinner party, or you've got Christmas, any number of the things that come because it's real life, that doesn't change your goals. So you enjoy it, you make choices for things that are important to you, and you let the things that aren't pass you by, and then you simply get back to normal life. So that's the other thing I'm going to teach you guys to start thinking of is special occasions, um, abnormal circumstances. Those things don't happen every single day. You go, you enjoy them, you stay present. You don't have to go crazy because the next time one comes up, you'll just do it again. It's not the last time you're going to ever eat that food, because you are making choices for yourself. So you simply go, you enjoy it, you give thanks for it, and then you come home. It has made no long-term effect on your diet or your progress because it's one meal and it just doesn't work like that. And then the next day you just get back to normal. Just take some of the power out of it. And just remember that food has a place, but it does not deserve that much power. It just simply should be a part of your life, not the all-consuming part. So that would be my best piece of advice for you in that respect. We're going to talk a lot more about these questions, ladies, over the next 5 weeks together. So if you feel like you've got questions beyond this, post them, bring them up in a Zoom, because this is we're just scratching the surface here. So so then reminders, 2 really important reminders. Be sure that you submit your points today. You've worked so hard all week. I want to make sure you get credit for it. So submit your points tonight on the Stronger Together website. And then don't forget, tonight is Katie's Zoom. So not tomorrow because it's the holiday. Katie will be on tonight at 7 Eastern for her Zoom. So tune in for that. Okay, guys, I will see you all throughout the week. Keep going. You're doing great. And reach out with questions, victories, challenges. Don't be shy. We're here for you. All right. Talk to you soon.